With conflicts raging across the globe and the spectre of a new world war looming large in Europe, one would have expected a push for peace at the NATO summit in Washington. But our next report explores as to how the summit has unfolded. And it is becoming increasingly clear that NATO's focus is firmly fixed on increasing defense spending, arming Ukraine rather than exploring the path of peace. Take a look.
This treaty is a simple document. The nations which sign it agree to abide by the peaceful principles of the United Nations, to maintain friendly relations and economic cooperation with one another.
"75 years ago, US President Harry Truman outlined the broad contours of NATO, an alliance to check the Soviet expansion post-World War II. Today, with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, NATO finds itself at a crossroads. The conflict has reached its doorstep, and Europe finds itself on the edge of a large-scale war. But NATO leaders are not pushing for a diplomatic resolution. Instead, their action in pushing more weapons and financial aid into Ukraine seems to be fueling the fire rather than dousing it. US President Joe Biden is warning that Russia wants to conquer all of Ukraine and even target Poland next. He has reassured NATO members of continued support for Ukraine, promising more military aid, including Patriot air defense systems, F-16s, and more advanced weaponry.
We can and will defend every inch of NATO territory, and we'll do it together. And that we're investing in our future strength to ensure NATO will always be ready for whatever threats we will face should be a clear message we're making sending to the world.
This unwavering stance towards war exposes a troubling disconnect. While hawkish pronouncements are filling the air-conditioned halls of the NATO summit, a recent study by the European Council on Foreign Relations reveals a different sentiment on the ground. Ordinary Europeans are skeptical of Ukraine's chances of a military victory and yearn for a negotiated settlement. Shutting out Russia and leaving no room for dialogue leaves no hope for an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Instead, it risks a direct confrontation with Russia. It is a prospect that flies in the face of the reality of modernity, where true strength is not measured by the size of arsenals, but in the ability to build bridges, foster dialogue, and address the root cause of conflict and destruction. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And for more on this, we earlier spoke with Jane Kinnan-Mont, the Director of Policy and Impact at the European Leadership Network from Washington, D.C. And this is what she had to say.
I'm here at the NATO Public Forum, which gathers about 600 experts to come and listen to leaders who are popping in and out of the summit next door. And it is really interesting, to hear the perception that you are articulating that not enough is being done to prepare for peace, and the perception that spending more on militaries is about preparing for war. It seems slightly different standing here. The way it is being articulated is very much NATO countries thinking that they don't have a choice. A lot of people are saying the only language that Russia understands is power, and they are arming to defend NATO territory rather than to attack. But of course, in this world where people in different places perceive things so differently, it is very easy for one man's defense to be perceived by another as preparing for aggression. So I do agree that finding more communication channels is extremely important. One of the things we have been talking about here is the recent visit of Viktor Orban to Moscow, and how it makes no sense to leave these contacts to somebody that is going with one country's agenda. What are the ways to actually have a more constructive, multilateral dialogue. But really, the way it's seen from here, it's about defence, it's not about attack.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.